Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe where we help and heal with daily videos. Uh, we're going to talk about what goes on in the mind of a narcissist. And this can be in any type of relationship, whether it's mother, child, father, child, co-workers, friends, lovers, husband, wife, um, living together. So we're going to talk about in the beginning, a lot of times you get smothered, whether it's the parent just adoring the child and it's so cherished, the relationship where they love bomb, everything is perfect. And it's a comfort to the child or to the person in the relationship that everything is fine. This is my safe spot. And that's what we are drawn to. We need that. For one thing, we're used to it. It's kind of such a comfort level that we kind of expect it. But the narcissist is doing it for a different reason than we think. At first, I don't believe that they purposely set out to hurt us, but they get their energy, their excitement off of us. And they are drawn to whatever gives them the most supply. So parents, like in the beginning, it's great with the child. And then after a while, it's like, wow, this is year after year after year. I want to go do my own thing. If their relationship falls apart, they want to go out, meet new people. Maybe they want to break from it all to go out to the bar and just have some fun just for their needs. So they start to get overwhelmed. Co-workers, a lot of times we want to be recognized, the best of the best, appreciated for our work. Same with narcissists, like if you put in the time, you want to be admired, or at least thanked. Narcissists expect more than your average person. A lot of times you'd like to hear great job. You don't need to get an award. It's just nice to say thanks for turning that in on time, as opposed to this big extravagant dinner for you because you turned something in on time. But narcissists strive for that attention that they missed out on as a child. A lot of times what happens is they have an overcompensating parent versus one who undercompensates. So they're in this constant turmoil. They don't know which end is up. So they have to develop some coping skills. So they have to put themselves higher to remain average. So they do that by invalidating, knocking other people down, trying to do grandiose things to be noticed. Sometimes it's acting out. They just need to be the best at whatever it is, the best jerk, the best artist, the best this, the best that. They just have to be the best. And they need that for their own validation of their self-worth. So by doing that, they take away from everybody around them. They take away others' self-worth. And you got to remember, they're drawn to this fantasy, just like parents, they're drawn to this beautiful fantasy that everything's going to be perfect. And if you have children, it's not always perfect. If you have relationships, you know that it's not always going to be perfect. But the narcissist is expecting the payoff. They invested, just like the parent had the child, the coworker did the work, the relationship, the narcissist did the love bombing. They think now they own you. Like it's a thrill of the chase. And then they feel like, look, I already did the work. Just like, have you ever heard parents where it's like, or females where they're like, I already gave birth. I went through the hard part. It should be easier now. And it's just a drive that they have to be grandiose. They have this desire to be loved by what they want to feel their worth. So they portray that image of this great person, this fantastic, lovable person, but it's an act. It's an act. And we believe it because it's so convincing. Through their survival modes, they've come up with ways to lie, to get us to believe them. They gaslight to confuse us when we start questioning, like something's not quite right. They'll question us. Often they make it seem like they're really trying to get to know us. They do want to get to know us, but if something goes wrong, they will use that against us. They can drop us at the drop of a hat. with no remorse, with they will reflect on us when their fuel supply is low. So a lot of us are hurting right now. A lot of us are trying to figure out, are we with a narcissist? Were we with a narcissist? Did they care? If you have watched more than 3 or 4 videos, whether it's from me or anybody else on YouTube, my personal opinion, if you watched 3 or 4 or more, most likely it was a narcissist. Because you were sitting here searching. Something was so off that you can't hear all of us on YouTube telling you that this is what a narcissist is. A lot of us will say it in different ways, over and over again. Narcissists on YouTube will tell you, stay away from us. Like your self-aware ones, they could have a whole channel on, this is how you get to, move in and have a great house. All you got to do is trick them. You could be popular. All you got to do is this. But they're like, no, we are self-aware. We're pretty crappy. So at least there's some self-aware ones. And in the healing process, there's some that have said they have gone for years, and it's not helping. It might change the situation a little bit. They're struggling to have a normal life, but it's a struggle, and that's a hard way to live. So as you proceed to understand them, they might try to work through things, but they're who they are. They feel what they feel. And just like us, how right now we're hurting, trying to understand, trying to get rid of this pain. Like a lot of us are like, if we could just adjust the relationship, if we could just get back together and adjust the relationship, I would be so happy. If I could talk to my child this way, I could be so happy. If we could just connect. So we are constantly in pain. Have you noticed that? Like I physically ache, and it's like for years. For years, you will physically ache, you will ruminate, what went wrong? Can it be fixed? Or, it's like that's our source of pain, and we're their source of power. And sometimes it seems crazy, but the silent treatment, ghosting us, it's weird. That's their source of power sometimes, because if we just say, okay, all right, I'm out. All right. You ghosted me. See ya. That's why they come back, because they are so overconfident that they deserve things that nobody will leave them, that they come back. Depending on the depth of your relationship, how long it was, if you guys were just dating twice. But if you kind of, had some hookups over the time, quite often, if you were like their special person, they're going to be like, wait, like I haven't heard from them. So they're going to start to hoover, and they're going to start to just be like, what's going on? Like, and they'll come up with the silliest little things to get back into your life. They might love bomb. They might ask a stupid little question like, hey, I'm concerned. I haven't heard from you. Hope you're doing okay. Or I heard this, that, congratulations on your new job. Do they really care you got a new job? No, they don't care about that stuff. They just want to hear a response from us. So we stroke their ego. They're not reaching out of concern, for us. They're reaching out for concern for them. And it's not even a two-way. Like if we were to call them, of course we're concerned about them, but we also want like the balance. Like I'm concerned about you, and hopefully you're still concerned about me, and we can have a friendship or get back together. But the way they handle things will always end up stealing your soul. And this is where I hope you listen. Take it to heart, is if you continue with the relationship, there will be times that things get better, and it's just going to be in a roller coaster. It cannot stay that way with a narcissist. They'll do what they can until you quiet down and settle into it. But then once you're into it, whether you're friends or lovers or parents with a child, that's when they start to feel uncomfortable, when there's no turmoil. So that's often why they'll pick fights, they'll start arguments, or they'll steal your joy. When you tell them something exciting, they don't go with that. They're not like, oh, that's great, tell me more about it. They're like, yeah, I kind of figured you'd get that promotion. I'm like, okay, you're always on time at work. So it's kind of like dismissive, like, whatever, okay, you got a promotion, like, big deal, you earned it, like, okay. And we should always be building each other up, but they're wanting to be built up for them. If it doesn't affect them, it's kind of like an annoyance. And then it hurts us when they, are not even like, oh, that's great. It's like, okay. So it starts to make us feel like, whoa, this is like my partner or my friend or my parent. And I'm like, just dismissed, like it meant nothing. Like, this is my lifelong goal. And there's no like depth to it. They might casually say, oh, that's great, congratulations, or about time. And their communication style is what hurts us. So in the beginning, sometimes there are con artists out there that will use their narcissistic personality just to achieve, just to get a free place to live, just to get a promotion at work, whatever it is. There are con artist narcissists out there, but there are also like different variations on how narcissistic they are. So some of them have some caring traits or some reflection on, well, that's kind of jerky, but they're like, all right, it was jerky, like I did it, okay. But then they're like, man, like, how do I make this better? Like, do I apologize? What do I say? And they're used to the love bombing, part of it is society. Just give her flowers, give her some chocolate, take her out to dinner. And the apologies they give us are empty-hearted. And usually when you apologize, it's because you recognize what you did wrong. You recognize there's a need for change or like a compromise. And, there's times like when we're trying to figure out what went wrong, is the Hoover coming? Things like that. There's times, like, let's say certain preferences, like if you break a certain trust, like cheating, let's say you had this agreement not to cheat. Some people are forgiving on that. Some people are absolutely no way will I ever forgive that. And I kind of look at it as like religion. Some people in their relationships, they might not want to go outside their religion because it's that important to them to have their faith and to stick to it. And they want a partner in that religion. Doesn't mean that they don't like people from different walks of religion. But that's a breaking point. So if you're outside that, they won't deal with the relationship. Some people, if you cheat on them, they won't deal with it. So as you proceed in a relationship, you got to think, if they did cheat on you, what's your breaking point? If you end up sticking to that was a breaking point, you have to leave them alone because they will cheat again. They might not cheat for 5, 6, 7 years, but if they were cheaters and you forgave them, often narcissists are so sneaky that they have apps on their phone. They know all the tricks. Their mind even works more than I think mine would, to where they're like, oh, I got to think about how I can hide this. Like, I won't even process that there's a way to do that or that I would need to do that. Everything they do is really, really tricky. They can try to show you that they are trustworthy in false ways. They'll come home on time. They'll make sure they are home on time, but then they'll also like leave work for the day. They'll wait till you're gone and there's no way that you would know. Their mind is very self-centered. to where no matter what the cost, no matter what the commitments, as long as they can get away with it, they'll do it. And depending on how sadistic your narcissist is, some of them do want to hurt you to see you cry, because they feel that they already have you. And it's kind of funny to them. Like the relationships I've been through, like it's like I believed in them. And of course I questioned it often. And of course they reassure you. And then when it all comes to a boil and they're busted beyond busted, they laugh at you. Like, duh, of course. And you're like, there's no apology. It was, and they kind of like laugh it off. And so in my picture, we're working through things. I'm trusting you. I'm struggling to trust you because this is not a cool situation, but I'm putting my energy into it. And it's kind of hurting me, but I see the end picture that we're working towards. So I can go through some pain, but to go through a pain for like, yeah, dummy, duh. That's what I went through all those years for, was basically a duh. And the depth of their accountability is zero. It is zero. The only time they will become accountable is to avoid the loss of the supply. So maybe it's the loss of a job where their money gives them the status, or if they're president of the company, or whatever the supply is for them. It can be materialistic. So they're seen as, like super cool. They got all this stuff. It could be, not losing their trophy wife or husband, because the person's not important. How they're seen through others' eyes might be more important than how they're seen through their spouse's eyes. So whatever their need is, they will go to certain lengths. But if you're that spouse where they're going to these certain lengths, you're like, wow, that's really sweet. He's starting to take me out to dinner. He's starting to do this again, or she is. It's often like to cover up something deceitful that they're doing. So if you're starting to get love bombed again, be cautious that it might be to throw you off track, that something different is really going on. They know it works because they believe that we see it as they're trying. They're trying. They're trying not to get caught. They're trying not to lose their supply. But it's not out of like an empathetic, like, I was a jerk. I did something terrible. Like, from now on, I'm going to treat them like a prince or princess because they are that special to me. And if they start doing it, they're going to get exhausted. They're going to be like, geez, like, I'm the one that wants attention. And if we do anything wrong, if we question them, we're knocked down. We are knocked down. But when they question us, it's more of an interrogation. They often don't trust us, which is projecting their untrustworthiness onto us. Their anger, sometimes some of them are really angry, really violent. Other ones use the silent treatment, and that's abusive too. So they all have their different tactics. Whatever worked in the past for them, going through therapy is like putting a BandAid on a burn victim. I'm a burn victim. I was in the hospital for 6 months. But anyways, putting a BandAid on it, the infection's going to fester. It's not going to heal. It's going to rip off any healed skin. It's just a BandAid, because what lies underneath, for one thing, it's not covering everything that was damaged. It's just covering a small part of it, just enough to get you by, just to be like, yeah, I'm taking care of you. I put a BandAid on you. You burnt your whole body, but I'm taking care of you. Just see, I'm taking care of you. And you're like, okay. And so you sit there for a while and you're like, this is just getting worse. It's not like, are you coming back? Are you going to finish? They don't finish. They don't finish taking care of the problem. They put the BandAid on. They might put 2 or 3 on. when you needed like a whole relationship redo. And a lot of times we feel guilty, like, are we asking too much? Are we asking too much? But to be honest with you, like, we ask, but since they gaslight, since they don't directly answer, we have to ask again. And then we walk on eggshells. If we have to ask 2, 3, 4 times just for that answer we should have gotten the first time, we're seen as nags. It kind of cuts down our self-esteem. We don't want to do that. We just want a solution. We're willing to compromise. They're not willing to compromise. They don't want to take the time to do that. So that alone hurts, that they're not willing to take the time to discuss it. If they do, they will try to keep it short, to give some easy answer, or they will continue it out, drag it on and on and on, because they're like, yeah, you really care about me. You know, I want to see you cry. I want to see you beg. I want to see you offer this, that. How many things can I get you to suggest? Yeah, we can't do that. What else do you think? And they just get a kick out of us racking our brains and struggling. And, you know, you could get lost in a great relationship, but, you know, that's easy for them to just accept. And all right, we could work this out, but that's not exciting. Like, they want that adrenaline rush. That's why they keep everything a roller coaster. They've learned that they can only push the button so much before an individual person will leave. That's why they're more extreme with certain people. So they're with a new supply or their old supply. It just depends on how much that person will tolerate. So if it falls apart, if they found a new supply, if it got too heated and you guys separated, they will start to panic when they do Hoover and they don't hear from you. If you move on, they still want to be seen as pretty much, you know, the most important person in your life. So have you ever noticed it's really odd? Like, my sister had dated somebody and it didn't work out. And I was joking with my other sister. I'm like, your friend should fix me up with them. And my sister's like, huh, I kind of still like him. And she's like, that's weird. Like, I didn't really think about him until you mentioned seeing him. And they never got physical. So it makes a difference to me. But it was weird. It was like, she's like, it's kind of like the you want what other people want, or you want what you can't have. And that's what narcissists feel. And they'll start to cling on to that. They want to just make sure that they're not going to lose something that they can't have, something that they don't even want. They just don't want to lose that person in their harem garage. They just want to make sure, yeah, I'm the crap. I'm it. I'm the one that all these people are pining over. These people who think I'm so awesome. So they'll pop in here and there. They'll give, you know, fake promises. They often don't uphold it. If they do get back together with you, you know, it'll go good for a while and then it'll go south. It will always go south, and you're always going to be investing your time into them. Same with parent-child relationships with narcissists. They'll try to work it out, and then people just revert back to who they really are at heart. And we're going to revert back to who we are. We're going to be all excited and happy, and we moved on and we healed. So we're going to eventually gain ourselves back. And that's what's so attractive about us. You guys are beautiful people. I know you guys really care about each other. You just lost yourself along the way. I did. And it was because of all the devaluation. So not only do we hear like all these crappy things, even if they're subtle, they start to eat at you. But this was what was so hard for me. We devalued ourselves because we struggled to work through it. And it didn't work out. So we're like, okay, we're still down here. Let's struggle to do it again. And each time we try to say, hey, I'm worth something. And they're like, they just keep knocking us down. So now we keep getting down. And all these years that we've tried to work through it, They knocked us down, which is something you can process. Call me ugly, call me this. I don't care. I don't like it, but call me whatever you want to call me. I'm a grown woman. I can brush it off. But when you're in a relationship and they knock you down, like that's your support system. That's your safety net. And, to stay in that relationship, you either have to take the abuse, but then you're like, I don't deserve the abuse. I want out of the abuse into something comfortable and nice and how it should be. So you work and work and work at it, and they pretend to work at it. They give you all these false promises. They give you temporary band-aids, and your mind is spinning. That's why we get so trauma bonded with them, is because we're like, oh, thank goodness, we are finally in a safe spot. I can come home tonight to my sweetheart and things are going to be good. And then you get instantly yelled at or cut down or dismissed, or not even acknowledged, or whatever they do, canceling plans. And it's like such a roller coaster. So then you're like, oh my gosh, now I got to go through my depression or racking my brains on how to bring this, like, this is what we're supposed to do. I don't want to sound like a nag. How do I bring this to them without upsetting them? Then now I'm walking on eggshells. I feel like an idiot. They're going to treat me like an idiot because that's what I feel, because they mirror me. And the narcissist feels no remorse. The narcissist gets irritated by us if we bother them with trying to work things out. So they'll be like, yeah, God, that's all you talk about. And a lot of times they'll handle us in an abusive way when we're trying to work it out. Sometimes it's really hard to see what that abuse was. Often it's being dismissive, silent treatment. Instead of handling the thing straight on, they gaslight us. They get us to the point where we're like, I'm trying, and it's almost like, let's say you had this like beautiful vase, this symbolic, beautiful, I don't know, painted vase, and it was just shattered into pieces. And that's a symbol of your relationship. Okay. You had this vase that is your relationship, gets shattered into pieces. That's your relationship. You want to put it back together. So both of you are the glue. And it'd be nice if you both work towards putting it back together. So you need some of their glue, you got your glue, you're putting it back together piece by piece. It's painstaking, trying to figure out how to exactly put it back together, what needs to be done. Try not to get hurt as you put those sharp pieces back together. And, you give your all. They might put like 2 or 3 pieces there. They kind of only give like a couple squirts of glue. So there's not enough glue because you have half of what you need, and they put just a couple squirts in. But they put a couple pieces together. So you're like, that's sweet. They're trying. They are trying. They put a couple drops of glue, a couple of these thousands of pieces. They put 5 into the vase. And then afterwards, after you put all this effort in, and you're like, baby, we did it. We have our vase put back together. Our relationship has finally made it. We saved it. And they're like, are you kidding? Look at that. It's about to crumble. There's not enough glue. The painting picture doesn't line up exactly perfect. There's a little chip missing because you can't always put things back together whole. So instead of going, oh, you're right, it might not be perfect, baby, but it's beautiful. That's our relationship. No, they will say, I know you put all this effort into it, but it's worth nothing. Like, why did you even bother? Why did you even bother putting it back together? You're like, I thought that's what we were doing. But then you look at the effort that they put in versus the effort that you put in, the resources that they offered versus the resources that you gave. That's how you feel so empty inside. And you feel anxious because they've trained you to feel anxious because you look forward to something and then it gets cut down or canceled. So you go through this on and off, on and off. You come to them. You don't know if it's going to be a good day or a bad day. And you're like, this great thing happened. And they're like, I'm watching TV right now. You're like, oh, okay. And, you know, they won't take a break from certain things to focus on you when you would want them to focus on, you know, vice versa. And then you rack your brain, like, am I being selfish? Like, he was watching football. Like, should I have interrupted? You know, that's where it's really hard. And depending on the situation, you know, if you just want to ask something, sometimes, you know, you can wait. You know, sometimes we have to do our part too. We have to be respectful of them. So it's not always all their fault. Because there's things, but they're training us. Oh, I want to bring up a point like grooming. Grooming. Did they groom us? I'm going to do that in my next video. Please look on the video grooming because it's a little off topic here. I'm going to make that right now. So look on the video grooming. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good day.